Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
I'm ready.
Awesome. Today, we're going to be looking at something pretty interesting.
Okay.
The idea that just one person with one idea can actually make a big difference in the world.
Yeah, that's powerful thought.
It is. And to explore this, we're going to be drawing on some writings from the Baha'i teachings.
Cool.
Ever feel like you're just one person and your actions don't really matter?
I think everyone feels that way sometimes.
I know I do. Well, these teachings actually suggest that changing ourselves individually is the real key to changing the world.
Interesting. So it's not just about changing laws or systems.
Not just that, no. It's about a deeper change in how we think and act.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
Me too.
Yeah.
And the text we're looking at today really gets to the heart of it.
Oh, how so?
There's this one line that really jumped out at me. It says, "Today, a single person's idea, fueled by commitment and persistence, can influence millions and catalyze worldwide change."
Wow.
I know, right? It's a pretty bold statement.
It is. But in a world as complicated as ours, is that even really possible?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, we see examples of this happening, but it's hard to imagine how one person's idea can really have that much impact.
Right.
What do you think?
Well, I think it's important to remember that the world is more interconnected than ever before.
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, think about how ideas spread online. Like one person posts something and it can go viral and reach millions of people in a matter of hours.
That's true.
So in that sense, I think it's definitely possible for one person's idea to spark a global movement.
Yeah, and we've seen that happen with social movements like #MeToo and #BlackLivesMatter.
Exactly.
So you're saying that our interconnectedness actually amplifies the power of one person's idea.
I think so.
That's pretty amazing. But what about the flip side?
What do you mean?
Well, if one person's negative idea can spread like wildfire online,
Yeah.
couldn't that also lead to harmful consequences?
That's definitely a risk. And that's where this idea of individual transformation becomes even more important.
I see.
It's not enough for an idea to just be powerful or influential.
It needs to be grounded in something deeper.
Exactly. It needs to be guided by principles like justice, compassion, and understanding.
Right.
Otherwise, that power can be misused.
So it's not just about the idea itself, but about the intentions behind it,
Right.
and about the character of the person sharing it.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
And the Baha'i teachings actually go a step further.
Oh, how so?
They argue that true change in the world requires a transformation of our inner selves.
Okay, so it's not just about changing our ideas.
It's about changing our mindsets, about shifting from a focus on individual self-interest to a sense of collective purpose and unity.
That sounds pretty profound.
It is, and it's not easy.
I bet.
But it's essential if we want to create a world where everyone can thrive.
So how do we even begin to make that kind of shift?
That's a great question. And the text points to education as a crucial part of the process.
Education. Okay, but how does education fit into all of this?
Well, the Baha'i teachings see education as more than just acquiring knowledge and skills.
I think I'm starting to understand.
It's about developing our moral and spiritual capacities,
Okay.
about cultivating virtues like compassion, justice, and responsibility for the well-being of others.
I see.
So it's not just about filling our minds with information.
It's about shaping our character.
Exactly. And our outlook on the world.
Interesting. So it's not just about what we know, but about who we are.
Precisely.
That's a powerful distinction.
It is. And this kind of education is seen as the antidote to ignorance.
Which is?
Well, according to the Baha'i teachings, ignorance is the root of all kinds of problems in the world.
Like?
Prejudice, conflict, injustice.
I see.
All these things stem from a lack of understanding and empathy.
So if we can educate people to be more compassionate and understanding, then maybe we can start to address these problems at their root.
Exactly. The text even suggests a thought experiment.
Oh? What is it?
Imagine if governments shifted their priorities and redirected even a fraction of their military spending towards this kind of education.
Wow, that would be huge.
It would be a massive shift.
But how realistic is that?
Well, the text argues that war is incredibly destructive.
Yeah, of course.
Not just in terms of human life, but also in terms of resources.
Right.
Both material and spiritual resources.
So they're saying that investing in education would be a much better use of those resources.
Exactly.
It would create a more peaceful and prosperous world.
And it would help to unlock our true potential as human beings.
Okay, so we've talked about individual transformation, interconnectedness, and the power of education.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in this text that sheds light on how one idea can create global change.
There's a fascinating analogy they use about the founding of the United States.
The United States. Okay, I'm not sure I follow.
Think about it. The United States started out as a bunch of separate colonies,
Right.
each with their own interests and agendas.
Yeah, I see where you're going with this.
But they were eventually able to unite under a shared vision.
And create a single nation.
Exactly.
So the text is suggesting that if divided colonies could come together to form a nation,
Yeah.
maybe we can apply that same principle to uniting the entire world.
Precisely. That's exactly what the Baha'i teachings envision. A future with a unified system of global governance working for the good of all humanity.
That's an incredible goal.
It is.
But is it really possible, given how divided the world seems right now?
It's definitely a challenging vision.
Yeah.
But the text argues that it's not just a utopian dream.
Okay.
It's seen as a necessary step in humanity's evolution.
How so?
Well, think about it. We've already seen how tribes unified into nations.
Right.
So global unity would be like the next logical step in that progression.
Interesting.
And in our increasingly interconnected world, this kind of unity is not just desirable.
It's essential for our long-term survival.
Exactly.
Okay, so we need a global mindset shift, and this idea of global unity is a big part of that.
Right.
But how do we actually change the way people think on such a massive scale?
It's a huge task, no doubt, but the text offers some guidance on how to approach it.
Oh,
It talks about changing the software of the human mind.
software. What do they mean by that?
It's a metaphor for our worldview, the way we see ourselves in the world around us.
Okay, and they're advocating for a shift in that worldview.
Yeah. The text critiques the materialistic mindset that dominates modern society.
In what way?
Well, it argues that this mindset prioritizes things like wealth accumulation and fleeting pleasures.
Yeah,
And that this leads to corruption, inequality, and environmental degradation.
I see. So it's not just about changing our individual habits.
It's about challenging the dominant values of our society.
That's a big ask.
It is. But the Baha'i teachings offer an alternative,
What is it?
a spiritual worldview.
Okay, now we're getting into some really interesting territory. What does that mean?
Well, it starts with recognizing that we're not just physical beings driven by material desires.
We're something more than that.
Exactly. We have a deeper spiritual dimension.
And that dimension connects us to something greater than ourselves.
Right.
I'm starting to see where this is going.
So instead of being motivated by self-interest,
We start prioritizing the well-being of others.
you're working towards the betterment of society as a whole.
That's a pretty radical shift in perspective.
It is. But the Baha'i teachings believe it's essential for creating a just and sustainable world.
That makes sense. But is it really enough to solve all the world's problems?
Of course not. It's not a quick fix.
Yeah.
But the Baha'i teachings argue that our external problems are ultimately rooted in our internal state. So if we can transform our inner world.
Our outer world will reflect that change.
Exactly.
So it's all about recognizing that lasting change starts from within.
Precisely.
That's a powerful message.
And Abdu'lláh, a central figure in the Bahá'í Faith,
Yes.
he put it beautifully when he said, "All men have been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization. Those virtues that befit his dignity are forbearance, mercy, compassion, and loving kindness towards all the peoples and kindreds of the earth."
That's a beautiful quote.
It is.
So this shift in mindset,
Yeah.
this embrace of our spiritual nature, it sounds like it's really at the heart of the Baha'i approach to global change.
It is.
It's about recognizing our shared humanity
Yeah,
and acting accordingly.
exactly. And the text paints a powerful picture of what the world could be if we all embrace these principles.
It's almost like hitting the reset button on our priorities, right?
I think so.
Shifting away from me and towards we.
Yeah. It's a fundamental shift in how we see ourselves and our place in the world.
But how realistic is that, really? The world feels pretty divided right now.
It's true, we're facing a lot of challenges, but the Baha'i teachings are incredibly optimistic. They actually believe that world peace is not only possible, but inevitable.
Inevitable. Wow, that's a bold statement.
It is. And it might sound far-fetched, but it's based on their understanding of human history.
How so?
They see the arc of human progress as moving towards greater unity and interconnectedness.
Interesting.
So they view world peace as the next stage in that evolution.
Okay, I'm starting to see the logic there.
They use the phrase planetization of mankind.
planetization?
It basically means that just as individuals come together to form societies and tribes unified into nations, the next step is for all of humanity to come together as one global community.
So it's not about if it will happen.
It's about when.
That's a pretty hopeful perspective.
It is, and it's a powerful antidote to the negativity and cynicism that we often see in the world today.
I agree.
But it's important to remember
What's that?
that this transformation won't happen overnight.
Of course not.
It requires effort,
Yeah.
both individually and collectively.
So it's not just about waiting for world peace to magically appear.
No, it's about actively working towards it.
One step at a time.
Exactly. Every step we take towards unity and understanding, every act of kindness, every effort to bridge divides.
Right.
All of these things bring us closer to that vision of a just and peaceful world.
That's inspiring.
And it's empowering.
It is. Because it means we're not just passive bystanders.
We can choose to be part of the solution.
Exactly.
And the text argues that even our individual actions, when guided by the right mindset, can create ripples of change that extend far beyond our immediate circles.
It really makes you think.
It does.
What one idea could I champion?
Yeah.
What small act could I undertake that might contribute to this larger movement towards unity and peace?
Those are powerful questions.
They are, and they remind us that it's not about having all the answers.
It's about being willing to ask the right questions.
And to take action, even in small ways.
Because even small actions can contribute to something much bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely.
And it's about recognizing that we're all connected.
Yeah.
That our actions have an impact on others, whether we realize it or not.
That's a key insight.
It is. And it's a call to action.
It is.
To live our lives in a way that reflects the world we want to create.
Exactly. A world of unity, peace, and justice for all.
What a powerful reminder that even amidst all the global challenges we face, the power to create change rests within each of us.
And that even our smallest actions can make a difference.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a message of hope and empowerment.
It is. And it's a message that I think we all need to hear right now.
I agree.
It really is amazing, this idea that each of us can actually contribute to something so much bigger than ourselves.
I know. It's so easy to get caught up in our own little worlds and forget about the bigger picture.
Right, like we think our actions don't really matter.
Exactly. But the Baha'i teachings remind us that even the smallest acts of kindness and compassion can have a ripple effect. It's like that story about the man planting trees, remember?
Oh yeah, the one where someone asked him why he was bothering if he'd never see them grow tall.
Right. And he said he was planting them so others could enjoy their shade after he was gone.
I love that story.
It's a beautiful reminder that our actions can have an impact that extends far beyond our own lifetimes.
Yeah, it's about leaving a legacy of positive change for future generations.
Exactly.
And it's about recognizing that even seemingly insignificant things can contribute to that legacy.
Like a kind word or a helping hand.
Or even just a moment of understanding.
Those little things can make a big difference.
They really can.
It's like that saying, be the change you want to see in the world.
It sounds cliche, but it's so true.
Right. If we want to see a more peaceful and just world,
we need to start by embodying those qualities ourselves.
Exactly. And the text really emphasizes the importance of unity in all of this.
Okay, so we've talked about individual transformation.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about unity. How do those two things connect?
Well, the Baha'i teachings believe that unity isn't just a nice idea.
It's a fundamental principle of reality.
Exactly. They believe that at the deepest level,
we're all interconnected.
Like the cells in a body.
I see. So just like the cells need to work together for the body to function.
Humans need to cooperate and collaborate for humanity to thrive.
Right. And this idea of unity isn't just some abstract philosophy.
It has practical implications.
Oh, like what?
Well, for example, it shapes their vision of a future world with a unified system of global governance.
Okay, you mentioned that earlier. Can you elaborate on that?
Sure. It's not about having one world government that controls everything.
Okay.
It's more about fostering a sense of shared responsibility and collective decision-making on a global scale.
So imagine a world where nations work together to address problems like climate change and poverty.
Exactly. Problems that affect all of us no matter where we live.
That's a beautiful vision. But is it really realistic?
Well, I think it depends on how we define realistic.
Good point.
If we think it's realistic for nations to continue competing with each other and pursuing their own self-interests, then I think we're headed for disaster.
Because
the world's problems are too interconnected. We can't solve them in isolation.
So The only realistic path forward is through cooperation.
Exactly.
But that requires a huge shift in thinking.
It does.
We have to start seeing ourselves as citizens of the world, not just citizens of our individual countries.
Right. It's about expanding our sense of identity.
And recognizing our shared humanity.
And that's not easy.
I know.
It goes against a lot of our ingrained beliefs and cultural norms.
It does, but I think it's a necessary step.
I agree.
If we want to create a future where everyone can thrive.
And that's where the power of one idea comes in.
Okay, bring it back to that.
Remember, we started by talking about how individual transformation is the key to global change. Well, when we start embracing these principles of unity and cooperation, we become agents of change in the world.
I see. So our actions become building blocks for a better world.
Exactly. Every act of kindness,
every effort to bridge divides,
it all contributes to creating a more unified and harmonious society.
And when those individual acts are multiplied across millions of people,
it can create a powerful wave of change
that can transform the world.
That's the idea.
I love it.
It's like planting seeds.
Okay, I like that analogy.
Each seed may seem small and insignificant.
Yeah.
But when it's planted in fertile ground, it can grow into a mighty tree that provides shade and sustenance for generations to come.
Beautiful. But let's be real here.
Okay.
Not every seed we plant will thrive.
True.
There will be challenges and setbacks.
Absolutely.
How do we deal with that?
Well, the Baha'i teachings acknowledge that the path to unity and peace won't be easy.
Yeah, it's not going to happen overnight.
Right.
It's going to take time and effort.
And perseverance.
Right.
We have to be willing to keep planting those seeds, even when we don't see immediate results.
It's about having faith in the process, even when things get tough.
Exactly. It's about trusting that something beautiful can grow from even the smallest acts of love and kindness.
I love that.
And it's about remembering that we're not alone in this.
We're all in this together.
Exactly. We're all part of this grand experiment of creating a better world.
And the Baha'i teachings offer a vision of what that world could look like.
Yeah. A world where war is abolished, poverty is eradicated, and all people live together in harmony and unity.
Wow, that sounds amazing. But is it really possible?
The Baha'i teachings believe it is. They see it as our ultimate destiny, the next stage in our collective evolution.
So just like we evolved from tribes to nations,
we're now evolving towards a global society.
That's a pretty radical idea.
It is. But it makes sense if you think about the challenges we're facing today.
Okay.
Climate change, social inequality, political polarization.
Right.
These are all symptoms of a world that's outgrowing its current systems.
I see.
And the Baha'i teachings believe that the solution lies in embracing a new way of being.
One that's based on unity, cooperation, and love.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a lot to think about.
It is, but it's also incredibly hopeful.
It is, because it suggests that even amidst all the chaos and uncertainty, there's a path forward.
There is.
And it starts with each one of us.
Right, with our choices, our actions, our commitment to creating a better world.
I love that. It's a message of empowerment and hope.
It is.
And I think we all need that right now. I feel like we've just scratched the surface. There's so much more to explore in these Baha'i teachings.
I know, right? We could probably talk for hours about these ideas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But even in this short time, I think it's pretty clear that this perspective has a lot of potential.
Yeah, definitely.
One thing that's really stuck with me is this idea of changing the software of our minds.
Right, that was a good one.
We talked about shifting from a materialistic mindset to a more spiritual worldview. But what does that actually look like? I mean, in everyday life?
Well, it's not about becoming a monk or anything like that.
Okay, good. I was worried for a second.
No, it's more about making small shifts in our values and priorities.
Like what? Give me an example.
Okay, so instead of always chasing external validation, like getting likes on social media or whatever, we can start looking inward and focusing on developing our character. And instead of trying to find happiness through material possessions, we can seek fulfillment in serving others and contributing to something bigger than ourselves.
So it's about recognizing that true happiness comes from something deeper than just stuff and success.
Yeah, exactly.
And the Baha'i teachings give us a way to cultivate those inner qualities that lead to real happiness.
Right. They emphasize virtues like honesty, trustworthiness, kindness, generosity, and compassion.
I like that.
And they encourage us to see the inherent worth and dignity of every person, no matter their background.
So it's kind of a rewiring our brains, right?
That's a great way to put it. Less competition and consumption, more connection and compassion.
And the amazing thing is, when we start living like that, It not only benefits us,
but it also creates a more just and harmonious world.
it's a win-win.
Exactly. It all comes back to that Gandhi quote. Be the change you wish to see in the world.
So true.
It all starts with us, with our individual choices and actions.
I like that. And the Baha'i teachings really emphasize that we have the power to choose.
I do. We can choose to live in fear and division, or we can choose to live in love and unity.
It's a powerful reminder that even when things feel dark and chaotic, there's always hope.
There is. We always have the power to choose a different path, a path that leads to a brighter future.
And the more of us who choose that path, the brighter that future becomes.
Right, it's like a ripple effect.
Each act of kindness, each moment of understanding,
It all adds up.
creates a wave of positive change that spreads out and touches countless lives.
I love that.
It's so empowering. It reminds us that we're not powerless. We can make a difference.
You got it.
As we wrap up, I keep thinking about that line from the text. World peace is not only possible, but inevitable.
That one really makes you think, huh?
It does. It challenges us to imagine a future that might seem far-fetched, but according to the Baha'i teachings, it's our destiny.
It
A
is.
future where differences are celebrated, justice prevails, and we all live together in harmony.
What a beautiful vision.
It is. It may not be easy to get there, but it's worth striving for.
Absolutely.
So to everyone listening, as we end this episode, we want to leave you with this question.
Okay.
What one idea will you champion to make the world a better place?
What seed of change will you plant today?
Let that question guide your thoughts and your actions. And remember, even when things feel tough, the power to create a better future is in your hands. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the Baha'i teachings.
Thanks for listening, everyone.